Thank you for joining us. Up now, we have Outside the Toy Box, the benefits of licensing. Our presenter is Maura Regan. Maura?
Thanks, Ann, and a huge welcome and good morning to everybody. You've already really jumped the shark, as they say, by being here, so you're clearly all super, super smart. And I would really fathom a guess that you already instinctively understand about thinking outside the toy box and the power of licensing. And I will go off script for a little bit before we get started, just to sort of share with you. As I was coming over here this morning, I was walking. Our office is actually in the Empire State Building on 34th and 5th, and as I'm walking over super early to get here, I passed two things. I first passed Build-A-Bear, and it was the best experience because as I was walking, this family that was with their two kids, and the kids just ran right over. Now, Build-A-Bear wasn't even open this morning yet, and they literally, it was almost like they were going to throw themselves to get into that beautiful storefront. So it was really fun. And so seeing them there and the excitement, and I thought, this is a good sign, right? And then I kept walking because I'm going across 34th Street, and I passed the Harry Potter experience. And again, it was probably 8:45, 8:30 this morning, and already it was jam-packed with folks just doing selfies and taking family photos and just really enjoying this, what will soon be their Harry Potter experience. And what that really is all about, and the reason why I bring it up this morning is because it's really about the power of licensing. And again, it's everything that you all know instinctively, and we'll go through sort of the mechanics, but as consumers and as professionals in the toy industry, you already understand about licensing, whether you realize it or not. So I'll just get started, and feel free at the end to ask questions, or if there's something as we're going along, just raise your hand like in school, and I'll, if I'm not too busy concentrating on speaking and clicking, I'll answer your question. But here we go. So I'm Maura Regan. I'm president of Licensing International. And who we are? Well, we're the association that's dedicated to your business. Your business is our business. We want to advance your businesses around the world through the power of licensing, and we do that every day. I come to this as a former licensor for many years. I was with that little brand called Sesame Street, where I ran global consumer products and media distribution as well. So I always bring that perspective of the consumer and how the consumer is playing and engaging with brands. So our mission, as I mentioned earlier, is really just your business is our business, as I say. We are here to help you advance your business through powerful licensing. What is licensing, though? And again, just going back to what I mentioned, instinctively, you already know what this is all about. So many of you here today, whether you have Dunkin' Donuts or whether you have Starbucks, you've already made a brand choice. And think about that. And as you look at how those two brands have extended what they stand for, which is initially coffee, right? But now they're into so many other products. They're into all kinds of things. They're into creamers. They're into foods and things like that. All of that comes to us as consumers through this business model called licensing. But what it really is really just two great brands or companies coming together so that together they're even better, okay? So in the case of a Starbucks, for example, they're fantastic at making coffee, but they're really not experts in the cream business. So they've partnered with companies who can bring that to life on your grocery stores. And in the case of the toy industry, and we see here this week, so many amazing toy manufacturers, absolutely fantastic. How much stronger and better in some ways they can be if you bring that product to life through a brand experience. And so whether it's Paw Patrol or Bluey or any number of great product brands that you see, together they are that much stronger. So really it's about a licensing manufacturer partnering with a brand owner, licensor. Together they make something that is truly, as we're seeing come to life here on these floors, magical and even better. And really what it goes back to is that emotional connection. We can't forget the role that emotion plays. All of us, again, as consumers, and using the Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts example, we have strong, strong emotions about what we like as consumers and what we don't like. And that is the same experience that I was seeing on display this morning as those kids ran to Build-A-Bear. And all of those people were in front of Harry Potter taking their pictures. They love those brands, as we all do. We all have our favorites. How many of you walking the show floor and saying, oh my gosh, I love this. I remember this. This is the best, best, best experience ever. I had to take a picture of the Tamagotchi. Why? Because my daughter, who is now no longer my baby at 25, loved, loved, loved that product. And she still remembers how I killed that little character, that little mechanical thing. And I tried to convince her when the little halo was coming on that it really was just going to sleep. And she knew that I'd actually killed it, and she still hasn't forgiven me for it. So I sent her this little picture with a smiley face, and she sent back a very sad face. So, you know, that's a whole nother discussion. You're in the right place because this is an industry that's growing. We know today that consumers continue to consume despite the challenges that we see on a worldwide basis. Inflation, supply chain issues, all of that pressures our industries, as we know. However, consumers remain committed to buying brands. And again, that brand experience largely is coming to them through a licensed deal. So again, you guys are already super smart because you've already made the decision to be in this business. And if you add licensing to it, it maintains year-over-year growth. Worldwide global sales of licensing this year was $340 billion US in retail sales worldwide. 8.8% year-over-year growth. And when we took out for inflation, we still exceeded non-branded products in terms of retail growth. And of course, toys, again, this is why we're all here, remains the second largest category in the licensing industry. Brands are how you differentiate your product, your great toy product that you've spent years developing and manufacturing, layer in a brand, and it really will just pop like nobody's business. It's a difference maker. The licensing industry outperformed the overall retail market in 2022, as I mentioned. And this, as we look out years, we continue to see this growth. And as we look back over the last 8 years, again, it's reinforced that licensing performs consistent year-over-year growth across categories and on a worldwide basis. I told you I can't talk and click at the same time. Now more than ever, really, as again we're seeing on display here, brands are what are keeping our kids engaged. And I think there's so many levels of engagement. I think certainly if some of you, and I see some of your faces, were here in the session before this, and there's so much opportunity in the kids space to engage, to teach, to learn, to delight, and also to help through challenges, through mental illnesses and things like that. When kids are able to see themselves in their products, they're able to really grow and learn in a very, very unique and positive way. And again, it's really can be in many ways a force of change for good. So don't underestimate the power of what you all are doing here this week. So just a little bit of basics of licensing in, licensing out, brand collaborations. And here I'll do a real pitch for our organization. These are terms that everyone talks about, we throw out, you'll see them up here. At the end of the day, if you have questions and if you're curious about how licensing might apply to your product, or you just want to know in general, give us a call, send us an email. We have information on that. We're always willing to talk to you about the business of licensing and how it might work for your particular product. Don't hesitate. We also do offer some programs. We have webinars, we have a coursework program, but really it's an industry that's all about creating community. We know that 1 + 1 = many, despite what you all may have learned on Sesame Street. So licensing in a few terms, okay. So these are just examples. Again, as you walk the show, think about these things as you're going around to see. This is really when someone's, it's licensing in. You've got this brand, and then you're bringing other brands into your world, okay? In the case of Uno and Roblox and Squishmallows. And then licensing out, again, think of it very, very pragmatically. You've got Hot Wheels. That's a great, great toy product. You've now licensed it out to Adidas. Adidas is taking the IP of Hot Wheels and putting it on the Adidas shoes. And certainly, I'd be remiss if I didn't plug my old friends Sesame Street and UGG. Same thing there. Question? Yep. Oh, I have to go back. Oh, here we go. Yes. Good. And we can make these slides available if anyone's interested. So, good. All right. Brand collaborations. I don't think we can do anything today without thinking about a brand collaboration in the world of toys and entertainment, sports. Everything's really about collaborations. And it's a bit of a misnomer, I always think, because ultimately licensing is a collaboration. It's a partnership. It's really only successful if both parties truly bring their A game. Brand collaborations have a bit of a different mix because in the case of traditional licensing, it's a strong brand usually with a manufacturer. In the case of brand collaborations, what we're seeing is two equals really coming together to, again, making something, though ultimately that's just much more even magical than separately. I think it's been interesting to see Hasbro Mattel, how they partnered around Barbie and to create a Monopoly game that's Barbie themed. Fantastic, brilliant. Pokemon and Puma, again, two strong brands, equally on the same footing, no pun intended, but in different spaces. But ultimately, there's an equal weight to each of those brands. So Puma has a really strong following and a strong brand position, and Pokemon equally does. Together, they're even that much stronger. Where it gets a little different in terms of a traditional licensing deal is what it always comes down to is how does the money shake out? Who gets what? How do you share in that? How do you, create equity when you've got these two strong brands? So that's really ultimately where the nuance comes in as you're crafting deals around brand collaborations versus traditional licensing in or licensing out. Just a little bit of discussion around where we as an industry see the growth. And we really want to bring this up because I think they mentioned it earlier as well. All of our worlds are coming together. Sports, music, location-based entertainment, which we see driving future growth for the industry. But if we think about these categories, and we used to look at them as very sort of separate lanes, it's all coming together. Think about, well, do we even have to mention Taylor Swift? I mean, and that other football guy, someone who really, really wasn't that important until she came into the picture. Don't ask my husband about this because he'll have a fit when I put it to him that way. But you see all of these worlds are coming together. So it's sports, music, location-based experience, as I mentioned earlier, the Harry Potter experience. We are no longer playing in these clean lanes. And so for that reason, as consumers first and as professionals in our industries, always pay attention to consumer behaviors. What's happening in our world? I do love to look at kitchen research and think about this, as I was just making the reference to the Taylor Swift situation. Again, all of us first and foremost instinctively understand the business of licensing. Why? We know what we're doing, what our friends and family are doing. We know what's driving that. We're all feeling pressures, whether it's inflation, whether it's time management. All these pressures go into making decisions around the business of licensing. And that's it for me today. I do have time for questions. As you can tell, I'm passionate about this industry. I think the licensing industry is ultimately at its core about smart business, and it is poised for continued growth year after year. The toy industry here today on display absolutely is a huge part of the licensing industry. I think all of you are a part of it, consumers as well as professionals. So I'm here to answer any questions or any thoughts or any commentary as well. I'll take it all. even if you want to bash me about my football reference. Yes. Yes, I think for sure he will be in a future song. That's what my husband said to me. Any questions? Do you want to? If you want to just, you can just holler to me, and I'll repeat it.
Okay, I have a question regarding I'm a recent graduate, and one of the things that are very common among my friends and for me is like we have a project, right? Like we have an idea that is very innovative, but we don't have the means for the manufacture. The project that we have is what would be your advice for like students or recent students that want to?
So you have an idea, and you need to find someone who can make it for you. You can bring it to life. So, but it's not necessarily licensed, it's just a product category. So you have validated the idea, so you have concepts. And have you moved it past concept stage? So do you own what it is that you just need to now get a manufacturer, but have you done any kind of trademarking or things like that? So you need a prototype to really, what you're looking for is how do you, I guess the real question is she has an idea, a great concept, that, has gotten some initial feedback, but now you need to take to the next level. You need a proof of concept that you can then effectively shop around. And if I understand you, the question is, how do you find someone who can manufacture for you? Is that the question? All right, that's a great question. It depends on, the easy answer always, it's like a lawyerly answer is it depends. But it truly depends on the type of product. I'm assuming, I shouldn't, it might be 3D because we're here in toys. And so you really need to find someone who can prototype for you. And I would say actually that at the Toy Association, they can help you tap into folks who can work for hire prototype for you. And that would be the best way to do it. I shouldn't have assumed it would be three-dimensional, but also for if you're doing a card game or something like that, they can be able to point you to someone who can prototype for you, because that's ultimately what you need help with to really demonstrate proof of concept. Good. Any other? Oh.
I was at the licensing expo with you guys. And I was just curious, because it's been a really
Collectibles. Well, and he wasn't even a plant, so I've got to really pitch Licensing Expo and Licensing International. But it is a series, it's a good question. It's basically when we have these sort of tentpoles, these events, and then we are all so busy, and then the rest of the year, how do you keep that momentum going? How do you follow up with these great connections that you've made? And it really is about follow-up. And it ultimately is, do never, ever, ever worry about being a nag. This is an industry globally that's built on, I never saw that coming, or why didn't I think of that? So people want to hear from you. They want to take your ideas and talk to you about it. Different companies will have different paths for submissions and things like that, because there's some legalities and rights issues and things like that they may or may not have you fill out forms. But ultimately, it's if you've met someone or you've seen something on the show floor, give it a few weeks and then follow up. And then follow up again. And don't ever worry about being a pain, because as I said, you never know where ideas come from, and it can really come to life based on something that someone just had a conversation with in passing. So yeah. Any other questions? But also reach out to Licensing International. We can connect you. We like doing that. Anything else? All right, this was great. Thanks, guys. Have a great rest of the show, and thank you to our friends at the Toy Association.